Hey everybody, welcome to a special edition of Abra's Crypto Bites. We are at Draper University's Hero City in San Mateo, just south of beautiful San Francisco. I'm super excited to be, I call you guys the first family of venture capital. Is that okay?
Sure. I mean, we've been called worse.
Yeah. I mean, it's
that's on the positive side.
It's early morning, so I don't know if you mean today.
It's certainly better than the second.
Okay,
Yeah.
There you go. So Tim Draper, Adam Draper, super excited to have the opportunity to talk to you guys. I'm going to forego introductions as to who you are. Everybody out there, I promise you, knows who you guys are. I just want to get right into it.
Great.
So I want to talk about
let
me talk about three things with you guys today. I want to talk about your philosophy on venture capital and investing, where you agree, where you differ. Hopefully we'll mix it up a little bit. I want to get into crypto, Bitcoin. You guys have a lot of investments in that space, both in Bitcoin itself as well as companies, who you've invested in and why. And then lastly, where we think it's going. Where is the space going? What's missing for getting broad-based adoption? Is it a function of time, or are there specific things missing? And we'd love to get your perspective on that. So let's get into it. So let's talk about investing, right? So you've been at it for how many decades?
33 years.
33 years.
Oh, I've been rounding up when I talk to people. I say 35 for you.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
Well, it probably is because I started before I started.
Okay, good.
Right.
So 35.
Okay, and your father is a famous, infamous
Actually,
venture
when I
capitalist
when I
as well,
got
right?
my
So
and when I started my firm, I went to get an SBIC loan, and I was 26 years old, and they said, well, you need 10 years investment experience. And I said, well, I've been investing since I was 10. And the guy goes, he looks at me, he goes, check.
all right, you should
That has changed.
Okay.
The SBIC, now they have
it's not the
100
best.
documents
I
that
see.
you have to fill out.
It's
they can
not
still
the
go check,
best
check,
now,
check.
but it sure was then.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been at this?
So I've been investing for about 8 years
Yeah.
as a venture capital or angel investor. I mean, technically since I was about 6.
I was going to ask you.
He started me on buying like the penny stocks. We would go through the newspaper and it'd be like, what do you want to buy today?
Now,
They were the most volatile. Of course, they
penny
lost
stocks,
all
right.
their money on it.
Right. Did you get exposure to venture deals as a kid?
Around the dinner table, my dad would bring home stories of, I don't know what other families brought home stories of, but we got stories about like Skype growing, Skype's network effect, and Hotmail's network effect, both network effects on communication for the internet. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it was just osmosis. It wasn't like, it was just such a big part of his life that we learned through him.
Yeah. Okay. I had a conversation with one of my teenagers 2 nights ago, where he's a little interested in Bitcoin, not really there yet, but is super interested in the lore of Silicon Valley for some reason. So, he started asking me a million questions about, when I was working on Plaxo with Sean Parker, and he thought that was amazing. Like he was going to go brag to his friends.
Sure should have done much better. I don't know why that didn't.
We could let's do another.
Let's table it.
I mean, how many times I've gotten the wrong email address because Plaxo doesn't exist. It just kills me.
Amen. We'll come back.
Yeah.
Let's do another.
Anyway, actually,
podcast.
I have
on
4
why Plaxo
children,
failed.
and 3 of them have become venture capitalists.
That's awesome.
So I must have gotten them excited at the dinner table.
Do you feel that you have overlapping philosophies on venture capital, or when you look at? I would ask you first, and I'll look. You chime in. When you look at your kids who are all also in venture capital, or if I was to ask your father the same question about you, do you feel that you have any overlapping philosophies on venture, or do you feel that you're just totally different?
Oh, there are a lot of overlapping, but it's really fun to see how each of them has decided to go. Adam, I mean, he can speak for himself, but generally going after science fiction. My daughter, Jessie, she does halogen ventures. She only backs women.
Wow.
And my son, Billy, does Pace Ventures, and that's only brand. He's going after consumer and brand. Yeah. Technology too, but consumer and brand. Yeah. So it's interesting. They've kind of the branches have grown.
Now, and when they're raised, I mean, you have to raise all the time. We talk about it. I'm guessing you used to, but you probably do less of that now. But when the kids are kind of raising for the first time, do they come to you and say, "Hey, what do I do?" Do they intuitively know what to do?
Weirdly, none of them have come to me for advice.
Wow.
I'm saying, hey, I can help. Here, I sent out, I said,
you'd be
here are
the
a
first
bunch of
person
my
I'd call.
wealthy friends. If you want to go talk to them, they go, gee, Dad, I got my own network.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I think originally it started as just try it on our own before. I do come back, and I work in the same building as my dad, and so I go up sometimes when I have a hard decision to make.
Okay.
And say, what's the right direction? He gives me one answer, and then I go to my grandfather, and then he gives me the other answer, and then I have to figure it out.
And how often do you get the same or overlapping answers?
By the way, I'd say the thing that on the venture take, at the base of everything is we always focus on people who are building things. And so my grandfather is incredible with humans, human beings. And that's sort of, I would say, it's transcended the generations, where it's just sort of, we know that at the end of the day, it's the person that's going to be able to build and change the world. Yes, we have different takes on the direction the world is going.
Yep.
I'd say that's why we back different things. I focus very much on hard technologies and movements that are really, you read about in Ender's Game or Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And my dad has I would say we both also, my dad and I, the similarities are the things where it's we are good where there's regulatory uncertainty. We see a lot of opportunity where that is.
We don't have any of that in crypto.
Yeah, none of it.
Right. Yeah. So why interview us?
Why? But that's where we find the largest opportunities. And so, my dad is just good naturally at, I don't know if we've ever called it regulatory uncertainty, but that's where the most growth happens.
Sure.
So financial markets, you wouldn't have guessed that in 2008, that would have been the best time to start investing in fintech.
Sure.
But
turned out to be.
My dad decided to just throw basically everything at fintech, and he backed Bitcoin, but he also backed Carta and all those things.
Yeah,
all of the
Robinhood,
Carta,
Coinbase. He was in first.
I did, and then but yeah. So
interesting.
I would say it a little differently, but I like the way you said it. I would say, what we all, I think, do is think, what if it works? How great is this if it works? And we're not all concerned about what could go wrong, because plenty of things can go wrong along the way.
Yeah.
But what if it works? Is it really going to be transformational? Is it going to really change the whole nature of finance, or the whole nature of healthcare, or the whole nature of government? We look and say, well, what if it works? This would be awesome.
Yep.
And so that's where the entrepreneur does keep ahead of the regulatory, because
they help create it.
They help.
Abra helps you create
I
it.
can give you a million stories of the battles that I fight or choose not to fight, and it's half my day, for sure. For sure.
Our sympathy.
So I asked for the job. So, okay, so I want one example of where you went to dad and granddad and said, what do you think about this deal? Both said no, and you did the deal.
Okay, so it wasn't about a deal specific. I'm going to give you what both my dad and grandfather said about Bitcoin.
Okay.
Okay, and first, my dad actually, I think timeline-wise, you invested in a Bitcoin company before I did.
Yeah, but the wrong one.
Yeah, and I backed the one of the right one.
I'm guessing I know which one.
Yeah, and then but then over, and I went to my dad and my grandfather, and I was saying, well, this Bitcoin thing, it's really interesting. What if we could have, digital money? And my grandfather, so my dad was already in, but it was sort of, is this market going to grow? I'm experimenting. And my grandfather said, no. He just straight up, absolutely not. Don't get into this. You need a government for money. That was the hands down. And my grandfather, I'd never heard him actually disagree.
He worked for government.
And he worked for the government, though. He worked for a long time. And so then, but the greatest part of that is that over the course of time, I decided to go at Bitcoin full on. We were the first fund to ever say we're going to back Bitcoin. That's how we connected originally. We've now backed about 100 crypto companies. And but the greatest thing, he sent me an article about 5 years later that Bitcoin was at the top of the headline, and it was about how Goldman Sachs was doing something with Bitcoin. And he said, "Hey, you were right."
That's it. So you get the same one-line email from your grandfather that we do from the venture capitalist. That I love.
Yes.
That's like the best tidbits.
As long as they say you were right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Both my grandfather and my dad, both just like quick little emails. Yes.
All right. Quick, before we get into Bitcoin, biggest learning so far as a venture capitalist, angel, incubator, anything you want.
Okay, biggest learning. The crazy stuff works, and the obvious things don't, would be probably my biggest learning.
Wow. Okay.
Not necessarily so first off, rules are definitely broken all the time. Mm-hmm. I sort of like, my new thesis is irrational people doing rational things works, and rational people doing irrational things works. So anyone in the Bitcoin community that's been
How about irrational people doing irrational things?
I mean, I don't
that's
know.
Where you get into big trouble.
That's the trouble. But maybe there is a crazy outlier. But it's sort of like one of these things where the rational markets, they need someone to come in and be a little irrational to be able to actually break things. Where the rational people going after irrational things, like it's almost like a good background, like someone who worked in remittance at Boom Financial and then is literally leaving their company to join this cryptocurrency thing that is anathema to the entire finational markets.
Sure, it's more of a movement than anything else.
To join a movement, that's a seemingly rational person doing an irrational thing. And so that's sort of my new thesis. I would say, at the end of the day, optimists win. You need to be able to say what if. You have to be able to say and it's really, you want to be pursuing your own mission. Everyone thinks they're competing with other people, and the entrepreneur is really competing against themselves in their own market. Mm-hmm. And it's a full self-discovery thing. It's not a...
As a longtime entrepreneur, I would say any CEO not in therapy is missing.
They're not doing it right.
And I will tell you, I have no problem admitting that.
There's a guy who specializes in that.
Yeah.
Yossi Amran specializes as he went through it. He was an entrepreneur, and he went through this big thing. He took it public, and then he got pushed out by other some other political CEO. And then he said, "Oh my gosh, this is tragic to me emotionally." And he decided that what he would do was he would be the shrink to the stars.
Well, when you're dealing with the fourth thing that didn't work on the way to the ninth thing that might work, the self-doubt
starts
it just percolates, right? And as a 50-year-old CEO, I'm old enough now where I know that okay, I'm past that. But as a 30-year-old CEO, it was horrible.
Yeah,
absolutely horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say there's a great quote from a movie. It was, in my 20s, I knew everything. In my 30s, I realized I didn't know anything.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And by the time you get in your 50s,
in your 40s, you're right.
About both.
Right. All right, I'm going to ask the question a little bit differently. So you lived through the dot-com era, some fantastic exits. You've seen social networking and now Bitcoin/blockchain. How are things different in your world of venture now versus in the 90s and then through the Google, Facebook years?
Well, I think that the consolidation around the best tokens, Bitcoin, Ethereum, there's a big consolidation around those, and the innovative tokens. Mm-hmm. That same thing happened during the dot-com period.
Oh, I see.
Because there were some amazing people going, hey, pets.com or whatever. It was lots of these that kind of came up, raised a bunch of money, and then disappeared.
Sounds familiar.
So similar thing happened in token world, but then there was the rise of the real, the rise of the great technologies, the rise of the really interesting things. And so with Bitcoin, you're seeing the the rise of the people around Bitcoin doing interesting things, the open node and the Lightning Network, realizing, hey, we found something, we found an interesting opportunity, let's run with it. Around Ethereum, there are also a lot of those kind of interesting things happening. The payment for better or more honest journalism, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting things happening around those. And then there are a bunch of these that didn't really happen. But then there's some surprises, like, wow, look, the data wallet or the Credo or whatever that are kind of coming up, and people are going, wow, look at that. That was interesting. It's a new application, and a lot of it has to do with who are the people behind that, how driven are they, and it's just like entrepreneurship all the way through. People who are working really hard and doing really great things, and they stick with it and they go for the long haul, those are going to be the ones that win.
Yep. So on that note, what was your, beyond the Bitcoin itself, which I know you're both holders of, so am I, but what was your first kind of corporate investment in the Bitcoin space? Like, which company did you invest in first? Do you remember?
So I invested before I bought Bitcoin.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it was from Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, pitched me at a coffee shop, and I ended up investing because of people like you, where I met every single person I met was the most dynamic person I'd ever met. And I was like, whether or not, like, this is a crazy idea, this is a rational person doing an irrational thing. And then so I ended up investing in Brian in a seed round. And then actually, it wasn't for another 4 months did I actually buy any Bitcoin. I will remember, like, I remember when I actually had finally signed the docs with Brian, and like I invested money, you're holding the piece of paper, and he said, oh, and do you want to buy Bitcoin on our platform? I was like, I just gave you a bunch of money, man. Hey man, like, I know that you're trying to do what's right for you, but like, seriously. And he, that is the time I look back on as like, I should have just done it, because the price was, I don't know, $8 for Bitcoin or something.
Right. Okay.
Mine was Coin Lab.
Okay.
Which was well before that, but it was an investment where it was still totally the Wild West, and it would seem to be kind of interesting. And they were in the catbird seat, but they hadn't picked a good direction yet. And then with him, I said, well, I also want some Bitcoin. So different situation.
Yeah.
And here's some money, get me some Bitcoin. And he said, okay, we'll take that money, get a chip, and mine the Bitcoin, and you'll get it at an even cheaper price.
Okay.
Well, then the chip never arrived for months and months and months.
And the price is going up and up and up,
and
right?
the people who were making the chip, were doing some mining of their own. And so we got front run. And then finally he got it. The Bitcoin had gone from 4 to 36 in the time he finally got it. So then he mines a bunch of Bitcoin, and I'm saying, good, I got some Bitcoin. And he stores it at Mt. Gox, and it was gone. So I had a very different experience. The reason I bought all the Bitcoin in the big auction was, well, first, I didn't think I was going to get it all, but I did. I was the only one who bid above. I think I'm the only one who bid above market for all the Silk Road.
Gotcha.
My reasoning there was, after Mt. Gox, the price didn't drop very far in Bitcoin, and I thought, whoa, people really need this. I was ready to totally give up and say, oh, that was a total disaster, and I don't know what those guys were thinking, but why would we ever get involved? But it only dropped a little, so I did a lot of research and said, oh, wow, there are all these interesting applications.
Yes.
This is going to replace all the fiat money. I didn't even know the word fiat, except for the car.
Right.
So, so the political money, the money that's tied to politics, this is going to replace all of it. And I got very excited about it. And so when the auction came, I thought, well, the upside's super high. And if I bid a little bit low, I get a slightly better deal. Who cares? So I think I may have been the only one who bid above market, and I got all the lots. But, okay, it was more than I wanted. But
Careful what you asked for, right?
But now I'm good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wow. Okay.
Good.
All right. So since then, obviously, Coinbase has turned out.
So we both invested in companies before we bought Bitcoin.
Yeah, I would never have guessed that.
So that's wild because
You didn't know that? You both didn't
No,
know that?
I didn't realize
You guys are learning a lot about each
You
other.
bring it all out.
So, all right. So companies first, Bitcoin soon after. Since then, right, you've done a tremendous amount of investing in this space, both of you, right? I mean, you have a fund dedicated to that, and I believe you've done many corporate investments, venture investments since then, right? So beyond Coinbase, which congratulations, what is the investment that you've made in the last kind of 18 months that you're most excited about in the crypto space?
You mean Abra?
Besides Abra, we'll give you that.
Let's see here. The things that have worked up till now. So it's gateways. So it's the onboarding experience, Abra, Coinbase, all of these things that allow the people who are not in the digital world to get into the digital world with digital money. I think that the next sequence is going to be, well, first, in that digital world, we need data. And understanding that data is going to be really important. Indexing that data is going to be very important. And we backed Etherscan, and I would say that that's one that I'm really excited about because it's sort of a below the radar.
Explain Etherscan.
So Etherscan is you can check and validate transaction when an Ethereum moves from one wallet to another. You can see when smart contracts settle. And almost every product uses their API to be able to alert, or like every product uses them.
Yeah.
And no one really realizes that they're sort of beneath the surface of everything.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't even be saying that. Maybe that's their goal. So I would say, so Etherscan once you're in, it's important to index all that information. So it's sort of like the internet. With the internet, it was important to get onboarded to the TCP/IP, which was through like Netscape. But then once you're in, indexing all the information, like Yahoo and Google did, ended up being one of the most important pieces of the internet.
Yep.
And so I still think that that's really important. And then it's just about use cases and getting people to use it. So the other thing I'm very excited about are user interfaces, which seems very obvious. Not obvious, seems a little lighter weight because we've talked about protocols and dApps, which are peer-to-peer networks, so long in this stack of the decentralized world that I'm really excited about the thing that the consumer interacts with. So there's this new stack of, there's a user interface, and there can be millions of user interfaces that are built on top of a peer-to-peer network. The stack that I see the most of is, right now it's Augur is live and Ethereum's live, and so people are building user interfaces on top of both of those. We invested in a company called Guesser that is doing that.
Explain Guesser.
So Guesser is it's gambling. So Augur is a prediction market,
which in and of itself
peer-to-peer
sounds
network.
like gambling, right?
And it is gambling.
Yeah.
And so they're creating an interface that just makes it easier to globally gamble. So you could have you could be managing the book of everyone in the world, which is sort of a fascinating concept. Again, regulatory uncertainty.
Sure.
I think that right now it's about figuring out the true use cases and why is decentralized better? Because in a lot of the times that we're talking about decentralized products, it's the why is like, why do you need a slower database? Why do you need a permanent file storage? Like, why are those things important? And a lot of the times it's not. And I think that's the thing that I want people to get is it's good for some things and not good for others. Let's play to the things that it works for.
Yep. Well, decentralization is one of my favorite topics. So I
promise and assets. I would say assets are that's going to be a really big deal.
What do you mean by assets?
I don't know. Everyone talks about STOs, so the security token offering. So auctioning off pieces of this building would be really, really cool. But the killer app of the entire decentralized world is global. That's it. If you're not doing it globally, you're doing it wrong. And so the reason that I think Guesser's interesting is you could be peer-to-peer betting with someone in a different country.
Yeah.
And so I would say me being able to buy, this is moving, actually this is sort of what Abra is moving towards, but the being able to buy shares of Apple or being able to buy shares of, where it hasn't been enabled in a lot of different countries, that's the exciting stuff.
I agree. The way I look at it is decentralization comes at a tremendous cost in transaction inefficiency, energy, user experience, because you got to know what a private key is.
Yeah.
And if you don't need that, you're really wasting a lot of time.
Yeah.
And there's very few applications that really need that. Turns out finance definitely needs it, right? We'll see as it relates to other applications. But as a segue, so entrepreneur or a company that you've invested in the crypto space that you remain super excited about.
Oh, well, we've recently invested in OpenNode, and I think that they are going to make it a lot easier for retailers to just take Bitcoin. And once that starts to happen, then it starts spreading.
So explain OpenNode.
Well, they use, okay, here's Bitcoin, the blockchain, and it's kind of slow. And here's the Lightning Network, and it is off-chain, making a bunch of transactions, and then pulling them back into the slow node.
Gotcha.
Right? Well, OpenNode is the interface to that Lightning Network to Bitcoin.
Super interesting. So they're basically trying to be the POS for crypto with instant payments that Bitcoin itself can't manage.
They're going to make it very easy for anybody to move money anyway through Bitcoin. And I think it's going to really have an impact on Bitcoin. But the thing I was thinking, I got to tell you, which was I was in Argentina and I met with the Argentinian president and I made him a bet because Bitcoin was at 10,000 when I saw him last. That was 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it had just hit 10,000. So I was kind of riding high because I predicted that, right? And the peso was at 7.5 cents. And so I came back and I said, well, since we saw each other, Bitcoin's fallen to 4,000, but the peso's fallen to 2.5 cents. And I said, so I'll make you a bet. If the peso does better than Bitcoin over the next year, then I owe you a Bitcoin, and I will double my investment in Argentina. I've made some investments in Argentina. He said, okay. And I said, but if Bitcoin's more valuable than the peso, then you owe me the equivalent in pesos, and you have to make Bitcoin a national currency.
Oh, so what did he say?
And he goes, and he looks at me and goes, God, these crazy guys who come into my office. And then I said, like Japan did. And he went, what? And I said, yeah, call the Japanese president, figure out what he did, and do that. And he turns and he goes to his minister, we got to do that, set that up. So that was exciting. And then I thought one other thing, which was interesting, and this is going to get into this competitive governance thing that I like. I said, and forget about fixing the roads. The real estate guys are going to do that when all the economy starts moving to you. And he said, just because of Bitcoin? I said, no, take your infrastructure money and put in 5G because your internet sucks. I didn't say sucks. Internet is poor here. And I'm in this great hotel and you have horrible Wi-Fi. So please, do this. And then think of all the entrepreneurs that are going to go, I'm going to Argentina. I can operate in Bitcoin. I get 5G Wi-Fi or 5G straight in. And they're trying to make a move. So let's hope he does it.
Yeah, we have developers at Abra in Argentina, and they are the most passionate, most incentivized to see this work versus anyone I've spoken to, except maybe some folks in China. But other than that, they get it.
Well, the Chinese are getting a little depressed because their government has clamped down and makes everything illegal. And Japan responded to that by making Bitcoin a national currency and showing how an ICO would work in Japan. They just laid it out.
So I think we are going to see in the next 10 years some country really push Bitcoin as either a primary or backup reserve currency. It's going to happen.
I actually think in 10, I'm even more optimistic. I think in 10 years, a lot of these borders are going to dissolve and the governments are going to compete for us. in a virtual way. There'll still be some physical government that's sort of tied to police or whatever, but then there's this, there's going to be this virtual governing,
Yep.
and that can be coming from anywhere.
That's
so
right.
I'm pretty optimistic that the world becomes one big flying,
I like the idea.
golf ball, or a golf ball flying through the
Yeah.
and we're on it.
We're a rock,
Right.
but
We're a rock.
hurtling through space.
But it's
and we've divided up our
it's
countries
actually
by
very
these
smooth.
arbitrary.
It's more like a
things, yeah.
pool ball.
Yeah.
It's very smooth.
Yeah. All right. Well, either way, I hope it happens.
Yeah.
So, all right. So
I like the reserve currency. I like the idea of, because countries have been backed by gold
Yeah.
in the past, but then they go off the gold standard. Doesn't make sense anymore. Bitcoin.
Ooh, go on the Bitcoin standard.
Bitcoin standard.
Well, that's the book, right? Seyfedin's book. If you haven't read it, and I would say this to everybody listening and watching, I mean, the best book by far on this topic is called The Bitcoin Standard by Seyfedin Amusa. I always screw up his name, but brilliant guy. Love the book.
Wow.
The first third of the book talks about why we screwed up vis-a-vis coming off the gold standard in terms of basically eroding everybody's personal net worth. Why Bitcoin is the best opportunity that we've ever seen to get back to that, and what happens to fiat currencies over time, right? And if you look at the graph of hyperinflation of the Argentinian peso or the Venezuelan bolivar over time, it looks like QE 1, 2, and 3, right? Probably the only difference is the dollar's status as a reserve currency is saving us right now. And that's not very encouraging. But at the same time, Bitcoin didn't exist 10 years ago, but we can actually measure its relative weighting versus global GDP. That's insane for a concept that didn't exist 10 years ago, right? So
Data.
maybe we're on our way.
That would
don't
be
know.
really interesting.
So
People have asked me, well, so is Bitcoin the gold standard for crypto? And I said, why would you compare Bitcoin, this forward-thinking, incredibly exciting, dynamic new thing, to gold, something we used to transact business in the 1200s.
right.
Like pirates. I always think pirates. I was like, yeah.
Arr.
yeah, exactly.
And I'm thinking, gold standard, where do you get off thinking
Yeah.
that that's gold? Like, gold is like so far weird commodity.
So we've painted this picture of where we think this could be. Back to your question of, hey, what if this works? As investors, I think that's awesome. What is it going to take? Let's talk about part 3 now. What is it going to take to get us there? What's missing? Why isn't everybody using this? Is it something that everybody should just
Well, that's
adopt?
why OpenNote sounds exciting.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. Why does, and as we, I think it'll also take Coinbase becoming the standard bank where you don't have all these banks are doing making a lot of noise as they slowly disappear into the sunset while these cryptocurrencies are rising. As they rise, and more and more of us have Coinbase accounts, and maybe we're working with OpenNode with a retailer, maybe it's going to be spreading, and we're going to hardly notice that it happened. It'll just happen.
So do you think
suddenly we'll be at Starbucks and they'll be going, oh, yeah, you can pay in Bitcoin. And then 2 years later, you'll try to pay in Starbucks with dollars, and they're going to laugh at you.
Well, what I love is Sweetgreens, you can't take cash anymore.
Okay.
Like there are more and more no cash places.
Yep.
Although in New York, there's like tons of cash places. I don't know what their deal is, but like I don't have cash, so it's very difficult for me to operate in New York.
New York is a
it turns
time
out.
machine.
Yeah,
Go
like
back in time.
but there are a couple of these little places, so I have to go to branded places that like exist outside of New York to.
But in the same vein, what do you think the path is? What do you think is missing for broad-based adoption of crypto?
If I'm Lucasfilm right now, I'll tell you, I would save a fortune by just paying those 15,000 people at the credits, all the credits that run down after Star Wars. I would just say, everybody gets a wallet. Here's your Bitcoin wallet number, blah, 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 blah. And then your they send, like Adam gets checks for 25 cents every month or so or every quarter.
We were both on Nickelodeon.
Oh, yeah,
We were on a Nickelodeon show.
So
yeah, and somebody spent $7.50
to send you the check.
It's like
to send
$10,
us a
I think.
check.
Yeah.
Right. So now there's a company, I don't know if you're familiar with Payoneer, right? They basically ship debit cards, I think out of the Caribbean or Central America somewhere, to workers in Russia who basically are doing offshore work but need to get paid. And so they'll basically do a deposit on the prepaid debit card. But my understanding is when you look at the foreign exchange fees, the ATM fees, the network fees, they're paying upwards of 10 to 15% just to get their income. And this isn't a migrant worker we're talking about. This isn't Mexican farmers getting raped on fees. This is somebody who knows computer programming, who's developing websites maybe in the US or in Europe, who's paying 15% of his income. Right,
we have a company called BitPesa that actually takes your Nigerian naira, turns it into Bitcoin, shoots it over to the Tanzanian shillings, and then drops it. Are they shillings? I think so. And then drops it down there, and then they're in something like 10 or 15 countries, or on their way to 10 or 15 different countries, so that all that
But the thing
goes away.
If I understand what you're saying, though, the beauty of that is the users don't even know how it's working. Right. And to me, I wonder if that's the approach that's ultimately going to lead to adoption. So it may be open node, but are people going to be transacting in dollars using Bitcoin in the background?
At first, so, used as on the rails or whatever.
Right.
And that's already happened, and that's fine. But I actually think that Bitcoin's much easier to send. It was crazy. I gave Bitcoin to
it can be
each of the people at Christmas,
fiat denominated
family.
Bitcoin.
Yep.
And I just went here. And one of my nephews actually had his QR code open. I just went click, and we had made the payment. It was the fastest payment I've ever made. So that's going to save retailers tons of time.
Yep.
So on this societal level of like, what's it going to take? I think it does have to, like, we need to not talk about blockchain and Bitcoin. Like, I don't talk about TCP/IP.
Absolutely.
Like, it has to be like fade, where it's just I'm exchanging goods.
Yeah, in 1991, you had to install a TCP/IP stack on a Windows 3.1 PC to use the internet.
Yeah.
That's where we are right now in terms of having to understand how this stuff works.
And so I think that there needs to be a couple toys that people don't know that they're using Bitcoin or the blockchain for, or crypto in general for, that exist in order to, it's actually in this regulatory uncertainty market. Like, I think NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which are like crypto kitties, where it's like you have one of something on the internet and it's a toy. It's like a Beanie Baby online. Like, I think that those are going to escape a lot of regulatory uncertainty, because it's like, are you going to regulate Beanie Babies? And like, all of a sudden we're going to have like this interface where you're not noticing that you're using a crypto network, but all of a sudden you understand how it all works. Like, I understand how email works. I don't really understand how email works.
Right.
I just care that my message gets to you. And so I'm more, like, I'd say one of the themes are user interfaces where I don't need to deal with Ethereum or Bitcoin. Awesome, love it. Or a bank would also be awesome. And so being able to buy things with cash and not have something that's a cumbersome wallet would be fantastic. We have a company called Nifty Gateway that's sort of opening it up to NFTs. There's still uncertainty, but like, are you going to regulate Beanie Babies? I don't think so. And like, I don't think you should.
Yeah.
And I think that'll give us sort of a good societal framework for how to think about crypto
I think that's why PayPal got away with a lot in the early days, right? They were enabling people to buy Pez dispensers and Beanie Babies online, on eBay.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to saying,
like, this is a toy.
I'm sending money to Russian oligarchs.
Yeah.
Right? And if they were promoting sending money to Russian oligarchs, there are money transfers now, but they probably would have happened sooner. It's my guess. I mean, I wasn't there, but I'm assuming that that's what happened. So, okay. By the way, Nifty is a great name for an NFT company. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
It's been a theme of names, actually. I've seen a lot of them, but Nifty Gateways are.
Yeah, so I have this kind of biased philosophy.
Nifty too.
Yeah.
I have this biased philosophy that you know very well, because you know what Abra's doing. You see the updates. But I think the collateralization of real world assets using crypto is by far the best way to get adoption, besides just digital gold. And that's a foregone that people are doing that. So have you seen other companies like trying to figure that out, or is it just too hard?
So United States, not to bash regulation, but is sucking the wind out of everyone's sails to try anything. in the US. So you have to think, I need to go somewhere else. I have to reside in a different place in order to even experiment with the idea. And I think that means that we are going to be leapfrogged.
I just want to be clear to my lawyers who are watching this that Adam said that.
I said that.
Not me.
I said that. No, I truly believe this. And I think that this is an opportunity for places that, you know, I think a common conversation is that, like, in Africa, they completely leapfrogged the desktop and they went straight to mobile. Like, I think that this is a leapfrogging moment for financial institutions in a country that basically needs to fill in like a stable currency.
I think the U.S.
I'll give you an example of that where the U.S. did suck the air out of the game. And it's too bad because it comes into the technology of an airdrop. Because the U.S. gives away aid to all these countries. I don't know, some very large percentage of that aid, I would argue probably half, goes to the dictator.
By definition, because they're the funnel.
And so that the country gets very little of that. Well, an airdrop.
It's really great for the dictator.
It is.
Right. An airdrop would be a fabulous way for the U.S. to give away aid. And it would also be a fabulous way for anyone who wants to donate money into an airdrop. Well, somehow now they say, well, you can't do an airdrop because that is promoting your token. And so somehow we're letting the SEC in that case dictate what the country can do and what kind of...
In the meantime, we legally give money to dictators.
The airdrop is sort of like viral marketing with money.
Yeah.
It's like he created viral marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's their argument,
that's the
is that it would be marketing a token.
No, I'm just saying that it's analogous.
That gets into securities marketing issues.
But think of all the incredible applications of an
100%.
airdrop.
I mean,
and we just lost it.
Yeah.
Because the legal framework has somehow told us.
So again, like global, like you can't. The U.S. is not going to be the. Like, I think that there are a lot of great things about the United States. I think that
basic freedoms
are fantastic, and like I do, but I do feel that we on this financial revolution where we're all moving to this new infrastructure, we're going to get left behind if we don't open it up.
But I think what you just said is why I'm optimistic about Bitcoin and the U.S. Right? There is enough Supreme Court-backed case law to state that computer programs are protected free speech. Right? I don't talk about this publicly because this is not an academic exercise for me. I'm trying to run a business. But really, when you think about it, Bitcoin is not a commodity. It's a computer program that actually generates other computer programs. That's how you move Bitcoin. You actually create small Bitcoin scripts, they're called. That's a computer program. Why are we calling that a commodity? That's insane. The Supreme Court has already established that computer programs are protected forms of free speech.
Do we have the EFF or whatever?
I was just going to say, so the EFF,
lawsuit
when... Not a lawsuit, but I read a fascinating, somebody sent it to me yesterday. It came out about a month ago. I don't know how I missed it. The SEC shut down and fined one of these decentralized exchange relays. And the EFF wrote a pretty scathing letter to the SEC that you basically are effectively trampling on First Amendment free speech rights by shutting down what effectively are autonomous computer programs. Now, I am overly simplifying what was a beautifully written multi-page letter, but I think this is a real problem for the government, but in a good way, because I think that ultimately they're going to have to acquiesce to the fact that this is free speech. And as to your point, as the freedoms we enjoy, why is this any different?
And you think George Washington and the group creating the Constitution was thinking like, and machines?
I don't know, but so far, probably not. But
I'm kidding.
But so far, the Supreme Court
that's actually a pretty good argument. And free speech, everybody's
free speech.
That.
No, that's our thing. That's the United States
I'm tingling
thing.
a little because I've never said this publicly, but I spent so much time thinking about this, and why is nobody standing up in arms about and just protesting the fact that we're getting this wrong? And we're starting to build precedent after precedent going down the wrong path.
We forked wrong. We're on the wrong side of the fork.
Now, as a venture capitalist, part of the problem is I can assure my investors I am not going to spend their money to go fight the regulators on whether this is free speech or a commodity. It's not going to happen. But somebody, whether it's EFF to your point, is going to have to make that argument at some point, because it's just too fundamental to our future if we start getting into autonomous companies, autonomous regulations.
Oh, these are going to be consistent conversations that everyone's having. Like it's going to be about. I just saw a billboard, Prudential. It was like a very complacent billboard, which is, if you're retired, the machine can't take your job. The robots can't take your job. And I was like, wow, you're really just like, hey, give up. Hey, give up.
That's hilarious.
Hey, give up. And that's on the 101. That's like a huge
Adam
billboard.
came up with this great idea, which is just have AI take all our jobs. And then what? And what you start thinking is, well, good, I'm freed up to do all these other things. So you get to abstract your job. It's like when the hoe was invented, you're not down on your hands and knees anymore. I mean, it's a big breakthrough.
I would love for my job to be automated.
Yeah.
And then I could go.
Yeah, me too.
Everyone's worried about the job automation.
Yeah.
Everyone worried about this with the computer also. They were like, how many jobs are going to be replaced?
Yeah. Sure.
And what it did, create new jobs.
Look, we've had this conversation for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Whether it's the
hoe,
or
the horse and
factory
carriage.
automation,
Yeah, the horse.
Information technology. It's never
Who's
gonna
going to drive people around? Uber, actually.
I think it may end when we reach
And Lyft.
when we do finally reach the singularity. It may end, but hopefully we'll all be on a beach by then, enjoying ourselves.
Yeah, except I started to think about that singularity and getting a machine to predict the unpredictable future. The predictable future I get. They can extrapolate, it can be statistically, but there's an unpredictable future that only a few entrepreneurs in the world are coming up with. And now we'll have 7 billion of these entrepreneurs.
So in other
out
words,
there
why would a machine make irrational bets that you'd be willing to bet on?
I'd be willing to make?
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
And maybe the machine learns to do an irrational bet for this singularity, but I believe the machines are still going to be, working for us. I don't think it's going to go the other way.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. All right. I want to keep going, but I'm being given the we got to get back to work sign. This has been amazing.
This is
Thank
fantastic.
you so much.
Hey, thank you.
On behalf of hundreds of thousands of CryptoByte fans, so it's going to be good.
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 Thanks, man. Appreciate it.